initially heard the announcement for Bioshock Infinite's first DLC, Clash in the Clouds, I was more than a little disappointed. I put in a lot of work to write a scathing review. I did as much research as I could about what Irrational Games had said about their upcoming DLC so that I could say how much they betrayed us. I believe my opening line was something like, "After beating Bioshock Infinite, you know what I thought to myself? I would love way more of this gameplay without any of this pesky storyline nonsense. But is it really that bad?" Short answer? So let's start off with the positives. If you liked Infinite's combat, you'll like this. I always felt like I was one of the few that enjoyed most of the combat in the game. So after making myself go back and play this DLC again without my nerd rage goggles on, I didn't hate the experience. While I do have issues with how they did this horde mode type DLC, I can definitely appreciate that it has a finite number of rounds, and even if you die, you can choose to keep going on with your score reset so that you can beat each of the 4 maps and move on. Furthermore, the museum bit was fun. Unlocking extra videos, concept art, and character models was interesting. And the Easter egg once you beat the 4 different arenas and buy everything in a museum is a fun hint to the upcoming DLC. My only complaint with the museum is that it felt like it was too small. Character models are fine and all, but I would have loved to see more rows and rows of concept art. Let's see some of the figures that were left on the cutting room floor, or some possible other storylines that didn't make it. Or perhaps give us some taste of the environments from around Columbia, maybe even ones that didn't make it into the final version of the game. I can't really fault them for not including more, but the DLC itself would have felt more rewarding if they had. Being able to visit the Lutece's house was cool, but doesn't really offer anything new. Now for the more serious cons. Horde mode. The very concept of this DLC was a put-off for me. While I may have some fun with the gameplay is not what I pick up a Bioshock game for. I want more of the story. I want to learn more about the city. When I originally wrote up my bitchy review, I quoted the Season Pass description. The tagline for the pass says, "New stories, new characters, new weapons." This DLC contains none of the above. While this is more of a complaint of what we expected instead of how good the actual content is, it definitely set up the DLC for major disappointment. This is the DLC that has taught me no matter how much I love or trust the developer, I should never ever pay for a Season Pass unless I know what I'm getting out of it first. I never would have played this DLC if it hadn't come with a Season Pass. It just feels like tacked on content to pad the experience. Speaking of padding the experience, that brings me to my next point. Blue Ribbon Challenges. These are extra challenges for each round, such as only use melee attacks, or use a different weapon or vigor for each kill. This isn't a completely terrible idea. Making me play through the rounds over and over again to get to round 15 where I fail the challenge is a terrible idea. If you mess up on the challenge, sucks to be you because you have to go back to the start just to make it all the way back to the final round where you messed up on the Blue Ribbon Challenge. If I could choose which wave I wanted to go to, this would alleviate this problem. But when some of the time the game glitches to make already difficult challenges impossible, it becomes a huge issue. This, for example, is a handyman I'm supposed to kill while he's on a sky rail. This, in and of itself, is a really shitty and difficult task. But when the game glitches so that he won't move at all and I can't do anything about it other than starting over from the first wave again, that's just unbearable. Making these challenges so time-consuming that you have to try them over and over again adds hours to the game's lifespan. But this is not a good thing. I don't need to play waves 1 through 14 over and over again every time I fuck up on wave 15. Well, I guess I still had a little bit of rant left in me. Sorry about that. My point is, this isn't necessarily a terrible DLC. It's just not what I was expecting, and it's a little disappointing. It doesn't feel rewarding to do these things, really, because there's not that much in the museum. The major problem comes down to the Season Pass and expecting more than what I got. It kind of feels more like Irrational Games was trying to tide us over until the real content that comes out November 12th, I believe. This DLC is not what I wanted out of Bioshock Infinite, so it's not a surprise that I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I play them for the storyline. Most people would. And unless you enjoy challenges that can easily become impossible and require you to start them over and over again, you may as well skip Clash in the Clouds. I am glad that I gave it a second chance, though, as it's not terrible, it's just not great, and it can be fun to play if you're not going for those blue ribbons. I am very excited for the next DLC that comes out, though, and I will be sure to I guess probably do another little mini review for that at some point, and that's Burial at Sea, the actual storyline DLC. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next taco show.